Santos Bonacci has performed an extraordinary amount of research. He has drawn his own conclusions, just as you are encouraged to draw yours. Enjoy.
Christianity comes from the word Christ. Christ means light. Light is what the Bible says God is. God is light. In fact, it's undivided light. So the Church of Christianity comes from the Church of Light. That's why the Pope carries the sun. You know, the monstrance. He goes around behind the sun, you see? Because they're telling you that it's a sun religion, it's light. But one thing that people miss is this, that Christianity, in particular the Catholic religion, Catholic means universal. Universal means all-encompassing. And if it's an all-encompassing church, it means that it must not be biased to one of those orbs, which is the sun. There are 7 orbs. There are 7 orbs in the sky, right? 7 orbs. And they are the planets that the days of the weeks are named after. Sunday for the sun, Monday for the moon, etc. So you'll find in Christianity a reverence for Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and Mercury and the moon and Venus. How so? Well, I've already explained how they venerate the sun, because Christ, that's the sun, that's light. So the sun is there. But they also have Saturn, because of the Latin language, which comes from Saturn, you see. It's a Saturnian cult. And that's why they wear all the black, and they have the little yarmulkes and everything like that. They're the rings of Saturn. They wear the little cappuccini, which means the little caps. That's all for Saturn. And then, of course, you have Saint Peter. Well, that's Jupiter. Hallelujah. When you go to Rome and you kiss Jupiter's foot, you're kissing Zeus's or Jupiter's foot. So it's Jupiterian. You see, Jesus said, the Son said, upon this rock I will build my church. He was talking about the rock of Jupiter, Saint Peter. And you look at Jupiter, it's a big rock. It's got all the angular momentum in the solar system. So that's why Jesus, the Son, says, I'll build my church on this rock. Jupiter takes all the knocks. When some comet comes in, Jupiter says, yeah, come on, I'll take it. So he's the big boy. Mars is there. Mars would be, Mars would be one of the fiery sons of thunder that Jesus called his apostles, because Mars is martial and he wants to fight. Venus is there. Venus is, you know how the church always, the Catholic Church, for instance, they respect Mother Mary. Well, that would be the moon or Venus. And then Mercury is there also, because Jesus is the Word, and the Word is Hermes. It's all hermetic. Everything in the Bible, everything, the lot of it is hermetics. So there are the 7 planets. I've just mentioned them. The universal church, Christianity, is not just solar. It's Saturnian, it's Jupiterian, it's Mercurian, it is Venetian, etc. It's all the 7 orbs. Because it must be. It's a universal church. That's what it's telling you. It's telling you that it respects all the deities. Not just the one, not just Jesus. The Virgin is there, St. Peter is there, St. Paul. Where does Paul come from? Paul comes from Apollo. Apollo is who? The sun, or Saturn. So there you've got Saturn, Paul, and Peter, Jupiter. It's all there. All the characters are there. Well, what I'm presenting in my videos and presentations, etc., is basically just hard researched information and evidence which indicates that the Abrahamic, the so-called Abrahamic religions, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, all come from science. They come from science, you see, and the science is more feminine than it is masculine, because it's philosophy, you see. Science and philosophy. Philosophia means love of Sophia, which is a goddess. That's wisdom. Wisdom is sophisticated Sophia, right? Whereas the masculine is theology. So what we see in Islam, what we see in the Jewish religion, and what we see in Christianity is what this dichotomy, you know, that goes along, and they juxtapose this femininity with masculinity. So you'll find that Christianity has this Virgin Mary thing, and then you've got this God phallic male boy thing, you see. And it's usually this one that does the business, and this one that tells the truth. This one's the exoteric, this is the esoteric. This one's the outer, this one's the inner, usually. That's how it works. The church comes from Circe, or Circe, or Kirke, who in the Iliad turned Odysseus's men into swine. And church is the moon. Circe is the moon. And why is that? Well, because we've got traditions of the moon bouncing back human souls back to the earth because they don't have cut the grade to ascend. Therefore, the moon is the guardian of the first heaven. And so souls are bounced back. And so, in fact, the Iliad and the Odyssey are teaching truths about how the solar system works. But you'll find that the monotheistic religions that are corporations, based on earlier feminine sophist traditions, based on wisdom and science, bring out this masculine side in order to go out and conquer the world, you see, but they're all based on wisdom and philosophia and feminine stuff. For instance, this is why the Arabs have their green flag with the crescent of Venus, not the moon, because they are teaching you science. On their flag, they're teaching you science, in that from the Earth we can never see a full Venus sphere. It's impossible. She's always a crescent. And she's always emanating the most light from all of the other orbs. In fact, Venus is able to cast a shadow on the Earth. Just like the sun and the moon, Venus can cast a shadow on the Earth. That's how bright it is, and yet we're only seeing the crescent. And so Islam put that on their green flag, green being the colour of Venus, to teach us a scientific lesson. We know that you can't see Venus in its entirety, so we're putting it in the flag to show you science and to show the feminine Venetian nature of that religion. In fact, Kaaba means Venus, and Kaaba is the place they go to worship Allah, at the Kaaba Allah, the Kabbalah. Sounds familiar to the Jewish Kabbalah, doesn't it? Kaaba Allah, because Allah is El is electricity, and Kaaba would be magnetism, and electricity comes from magnetism, comes from electricity, comes from magnetism, etc., etc. And they're telling you the story in their books, only they veil these books and they paint them with allegory. And so suddenly Jesus becomes this Galilean, and then he has this whore turned good girl, Mary Magdalene, and she's there working with. So you see El and Mag, they're always there. All the characters, always this masculine phallic, and then this woman who's got failings, like, you know, Israel and his 12 sons and one bad daughter, Dinah, who gets raped by Shechem. And then, of course, you've got King Arthur and Guinevere, the naughty Guinevere. She betrays him and has sex with Lancelot. And then you've got Jesus and his 12, and there's always Mary, the loose one there, and etc., etc., because they're talking about basically the moon, you see, the orbs. The 7 orbs, Snow White and the 7 Dwarves, turn up in every story, from the Bhagavad Gita to the Ennead. It's all about electromagnetism. Well, with the Jews and Hermes, there is a clear connection. Hermes is Moses, and I didn't say it. Marsilio Ficino said it, and he said it about 500 years ago in the Renaissance period, when he translated the Corpus Hermeticum. So they were brought over from the Arabs over into Renaissance Italy, and Marsilio Ficino was translating Plato, and all of a sudden he had to stop that and translate these Hermetic books, you see. And what he discovered was he found who Moses was. He found who Moses was, and that has been known to the world for over 500 years. Not that it wasn't known, But and he was not the only one. You know, he was not the only. There's many countless. I mean, Sigmund Freud associated Akhenaten with Moses and all of this stuff. You see, so but Hermes is Moses. In fact, the 18th dynasty pharaonic line included two names of importance: the Amenhoteps and the Tuthmoseses. Now, let's have a look at Tuthmoses, shall we? Toth is Hermes, and Moses is Hermes. So here we have the 18th dynasty pharaohs, which, by the way, is the most famous dynasty of all of them. The 18th. You've got Hatshepsut, you've got Nefertiti's there, Tutankhamun's there, Akhenaten, the monotheist or the madman, megalomaniac, was there, and you've got, as I said, the Tuthmoseses and the Amenhoteps. And by the way, Amenhotep means Solomon, basically, because Amun is Sol Amun, and Sol has to do with peace and the sun, and that's what Hotep means in Egyptian. So there you've got Moses and Solomon in Egypt. Wow. So it's a very hermetic religion. It's very hermetic. In fact, Hermes carries the caduceus, and the caduceus is the staff with intertwined serpents, and then the wings on the top of the staff, well, they are the two tablets of the law of Moses. 1, 2. They're the two tablets, the right brain and the left brain, and they're sitting on the staff, which is the spinal column, the spine. So it is hermetic, and of course the Arabs, the Muslims and Islam have their phallic symbols too. You see, they might turn around and point their fingers at the Christians who have the cross, but the cross is just the symbol for the sun, because the sun actually makes a cross. When you get the solstices and the equinoxes, and around a circle, they make a cross, and that's the sun going around in its orbit. Therefore, or orbiting with the sun, and it forms the cross. So they turn around, oh, look at the cross, the Christians are, that's an idol. Well, what's the moon? Or Venus, they've got the crescent of Venus, etc. Well, that is their lunar or solar focus and attention. It shows that they also are respecting the orbs. There isn't a religion on the planet that's not respecting the orbs. Who are the Buddhists? Last time I checked, Buddha was Hermes. Oh, so they are Hermes in the East. Yeah, sure. In Japan, Shintoism. It's Buddhism. Hinduism. Hermeticism. That's what it is. And, you know, it's interesting how they, when they ask for water in Japan, they ask for mizu. Mizu? Sounds like Mizes, the Syrian word for Moses. And what does Moses mean? Drawn from the water. And you go to Japan, Hermetic Japan, Buddhist Hermetic Japan, and they ask you for mizu, water. That all indicates that once upon a time there was a universal thinking, scientific, philosophical thought process that every conscious human being applied to their lives and were benefited from that science. And the Egyptians practiced this. The Egyptians practiced this holy science, which is the science of the transmigration of the soul. And it's all there intact in Islam, in Judaism, and in Christianity.